Today's guest is Alex Stock. Beginning life in the UK before moving to Australia, Alex holds over 18 years of experience in sales, marketing, customer experience, and senior management. Today, Alex is the managing director of Pier Marketing, a strategic marketing company based in Mornington, founded by his wife Catherine in 2014, where he works tirelessly to create clear and bespoke marketing strategies to help deliver exceptional results for his clients through increased brand awareness, business opportunities, and revenue. Expect to learn why it's so important to have a clear and understandable marketing strategy for your business, the difference between a marketing strategy and a marketing plan, Alex's 5-step marketing strategy process, and his best tips and practices for SEO and web design. Let's welcome Alex to the pod. Alex, good afternoon. How's things?
Things are good. Things are good. Thank you very much, Didier. I went to an event last week, I think it was, which was, this is very off topic of marketing, but asking the question of how you are is, I think it brings these things to the front of my mind. A guy called Wayne Holdsworth, who very sadly last year on the 24th of October lost his son to suicide. It's been around in the press quite a bit of the details around that, but one of the questions that he asked, and it's an easy thing to say, how are you? And of course we always just say we're fine, and that's it. So it's a bit, so I appreciate you asking, but you've kicked off a thought process now. But he was talking about asking the guys and girls that he coaches at the Frankston basketball team, how's your physical fitness and how's your mental fitness on a scale of 0 to 10. So Didier, I'll turn it back to you. How's your mental fitness on a scale of 0 to 10?
I'd say right now probably looking at around about a 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Earlier in the week I would say probably towards a 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I'm really tired early in the week. I said 15 hours on Sunday night.
Really?
Out of nowhere. My father's birthday on the Sunday. We're having lunch at the restaurant on the Esplanade, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm so tired. Yeah. And I was almost falling asleep at the restaurant. I was like, this is not normally me. So I was like, get to bed early. Went to bed probably about 7 o'clock that night, and woke up the next morning 10 a.m. So
wow, you needed it.
Big sleep.
You needed it. Yeah. And that is such an impact, isn't it? And I'll answer the question for you. You don't have to ask me. I think mine's probably 7 or 8 at the moment.
Fantastic.
But it's interesting, I think, just, sparking those conversations, because it actually makes you think, is there, what do you need in your life to, make sure you are balanced and healthy and fit and ready to go. So I'm glad it was just a good sleep, which is really...
Need it from time to time.
Exactly.
I think it's always good to strive for that 10 out of 10. If there's a 10 out of 10, I don't know.
No, I'm not sure.
But to strive to that, especially an 8 or a 9, always good to just strive for that and be the best possible condition you can be in.
Yeah. I think, and you'll know, running a small business as well, like myself, it can be tough sometimes, just workload, expectations, stuff that's going on. So looking after yourself is really important. Anyway, that wasn't the purpose of today, but you sparked a thought for me. So
thank you, and it's good to share different perspectives as well. And you need to know the background of things. I always think anyway, before you can know about the current. Yeah. So to know that you're sitting at that 7 or 8 at the moment, I think that's a really good position to be in to have a really insightful discussion around marketing and the importance of it in today's world.
Yeah, probably feel balanced at about that level. Yeah, it's a good place to be.
So my first question for you, Alex, why is it so important to have a marketing strategy? So strategy being the key word here, because people say, do marketing, but it's a lot broader than just a simple terminology. So why is it important to have a marketing strategy? Yeah,
I think that's a really good question. And even the word strategy, I think, can get a bit, I don't know, overused maybe. And in very simple terms, it's just about having a plan that has been aligned to what you're doing as a business as a whole, and know why you're doing things. And if we know why we're doing things and the methods that we're going to use to get there, that's just going to give us a better opportunity of being successful. And whether that is choosing to do whatever the tactic might be, whether it be email campaigns, whether it be websites, whether it be social media, whether it's direct sales, whether it's cold calls. They're all tactics, but if we don't know why we're doing them, and we don't know the types of people we're going to, and we don't know the product that we're offering or the service that we're offering, it's very, very difficult to understand whether we're going to be successful or not. And a lot of the time we have conversations with people. And in fact, today had a conversation with somebody. He kicked off his business a couple of years ago. He's in finance for where he wants to be is high net worth individuals, and using finance to support their wealth generation.
Sure.
So that's quite specific. It's quite niche, which is great because it means you can talk to a really specific type of person. When he started, he went off, got a website, developed. The website's fine. There's nothing like overtly wrong with it.
Sure.
But it doesn't talk about that. It actually just says, come and get your home loans. So
Not specific to the person.
Not specific to the person, not specific to the niche that he wants to go into. And having a discussion with him is very open to the fact that he's gone down this route of executing, but not really given enough thought to why he's doing what he's doing and what he wants to do, and then how that is executed.
Sure.
And another example is an electrical data contractor that we worked with a couple of years ago now, and they came to us to have a look at their brand, have a look at their website, the way that they were presenting themselves. It was very, very dated what they had. They knew they needed to change in some way, but they would say on the website that was currently there, and this is just an example of a tactic which has been executed, which is the website, without thinking about what it is the business actually wants to do. So you go onto the website and say, okay, well, we do residential, commercial, hospitality, industrial, education, the lot.
Very broad.
Very, very broad. And to sit down and chat to them and say, well, what do you want to be doing? So, well, I don't want to be doing any of that. All we want to focus on is education and offices. That's it. That's our niche. That's what we want to focus on. And just by having that, and there's a number of reasons why they wanted to do that, but just having that focus, that comes from a strategic decision. We're going this way. This is the way that we're going to do it. And then you execute that tactically through brand positioning, the website development, and who you're going to communicate with. Sure. So massively important on every level. And that goes up to look at the big end of town. I'm not going to pretend that I truly understand all the strategic reasons for it, but the surface ones of Qantas years ago launching Jetstar, there was a strategic reason they did that. They didn't do it just for fun. There was Virgin Blue at the time, I think it was,
yes, correct,
or
yep.
Pacific Blue at the time, which was in the market. There obviously been the loss of Ansett, and anyway, through the duopoly of the airline market in Australia, and they saw the opportunity to offer a low-cost carrier, a no-frills carrier, which they'd done really, really successfully. But that was on a strategic idea that needed to be executed, as opposed to just grabbing a few new aircraft, painting them a different colour, and offering a randomly different service. So
Sure.
My point being is it really does determine, that strategic thought and planning determines what you end up doing, rather than the other way around.
Yeah, definitely. And at the very start there, you touched on knowing the why behind doing something. And when you say why, are you talking about the purpose of the business in relation to, say, their values that they hold? Or is it more of a why around what is the reason that we are taking this action? If that makes sense,
yes,
the difference between those.
Well, so both levels are really, really important. I think sometimes, and we struggle as well, the why of a business can be quite esoteric and or sometimes be quite difficult to grasp. There's the Simon Sinek start with why ideas, which have been pretty well sort of documented and spoken about. He travels the world talking about the start with why, and so important. I think that's about giving higher purpose. So why do we do what we do? We've done a lot of work in our business. We've been around for 10 years, and I think we're getting closer to a more I suppose, a higher level why, if you like. But even that, it can be really tough to get to. I think it is important. I think people really latch on or grab onto a better why and a better reason for being. So it is important. What's more important, I'd actually say, is why you're doing tactical things. So why are you doing a letterbox drop? Why are you doing an email? Why are you turning up to networking events? And actually, on a day-to-day, that's probably much more important.
Sure.
As you grow as a business, your why, I think it helps you differentiate, helps you... and I think it's interesting. So an executable example of this is that we, 18 months ago, started to think about our impact and our success as a business more widely than just dollars and cents. That's massively important, and we need to be profitable. We need and want to be growing. But what are the other things that we need to focus on and take care of? So there are our people, the environment that we live in, and the community that we live in as well. So we took what's sometimes called the quadruple bottom line approach to business success. And that, I think, speaks to a bit more of our why. And
That the high level,
the higher
why.
level, why we're doing things. And the 2 or 3 slides in our proposal presentation that covers that are probably the 2 or 3 slides, apart from the pricing slide, that get the most interest and the most discussion and the most, that's tell me more kind of discussion, and really focusing on that alignment with the people that we want to work with. And I don't think it's important that what your values are. I think it's important that you're clear on what your values are and what your cultural approach is. As you look at someone like Jack Welch at GE, and I'll get this slightly wrong, but I think they used to cut like 20% of the workforce every year, and it was all very performance-based. So bottom 20%, as I said, I will have the numbers slightly wrong. But the principle was the poor performers or the lowest performers would go. Sure. And the whole point of that is to raise the
floor.
Raise the floor.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's fine because you're in that culture, you're remunerated to that culture, it's eyes wide open. Sure. Equally, there's the All Blacks, the New Zealand All Blacks, where no individual is bigger than the team. So it's all very team-based philosophy. So you can go, and this really again all speaks back to the larger why, which is really important. But on a day-to-day, know why you're doing your activity is probably more important.
That's really interesting. You spoke about including your values and your why within your proposals, and it gets interest. So presumably it's a conversation starter when you go back to the potential client as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think things have definitely changed in the market over the last 10, 20 years, where there is more interest in that side of things and in more interest in that side of business. And I think especially, we do about half of our work on the peninsula and then half of our work around, mainly around Melbourne. And especially and this isn't exclusive, but especially the local businesses that we're working with really connect with that because it's the place they live and work as well.
Of course, yeah.
So that, I think, gets a lot of resonance. But even with bigger organisations, and one of our clients who's a Australia-New Zealand client, we talk about our values there, and there's a lot of alignment between they used to be a family-owned business and now moved into private equity, but there's still big shareholdings amongst the family and the employees. So they talk about that their values very openly as well, and really try and hold themselves to those values. And if you see multi-million dollar businesses really valuing those things and getting that entrenched in their business and the way they operate, the market's definitely changed, or it is changing. Yeah. And it's probably changing from the bottom up rather than the top down. Sure. Where value sets, I think, are probably easier to instill in smaller organisations than they are in larger organisations, where often I see them being spoken about but not lived, and then they just become window dressing rather than a real way of operating. Sure. So it's probably unfair to many organisations, but yeah, anyway.
So strategy versus a plan. Mm-hmm. What's the differences there when it relates to marketing?
strategy is about why you're doing something. A plan is how you do it,
Right.
fundamentally.
Sure.
So strategy, we're sitting there, as we said, is just understanding what are we trying to achieve and why are we even trying to achieve that, and then the plan is about how we're going to execute that.
Sure.
So
detailed steps. This is the execution plan towards this end goal, which is the strategy.
And even a marketing plan, you come down sort of like the steps, if you like. You start with a strategy, and then you move that into a marketing plan. So the marketing plan is all the things that you're going to do over a period of time that you believe will give you the best chance of fulfilling a strategic goal. And then within that, you'll have other plans, like a communications plan. What are you going to say to who on which channel? You might come up with an advertising plan. So where are you going to advertise? What's your advertising campaign going to be? What's your messaging going to be? And the point being is that once you get your top level strategy, and then you get all the things you need to do from a marketing perspective, how do you then plan that out in a week-to-week, day-to-day basis, which gets very granular. So yeah, it can get pretty executional, very executional and very detailed.
Yeah. So then what are some of the common mistakes, red flags, if you want, that you see a lot of businesses, small or large, make when it comes to marketing strategy, marketing plans, marketing in general, keeping in mind strategy being the overarching aim, and then the executional steps being the plan? What are those common mistakes?
Not valuing the planning, the strategic planning, I think is a big thing. And it's interesting because I think when people see stuff happening, they feel good.
Sure.
So execution makes people feel like there is activity. And if I'm busy, then everything must be good, right? Whereas if you're doing the wrong thing, you can be as busy as you want, but
it's not going to be effective.
It's not going to be effective, exactly. So I think, yeah, it can, if you say, right, okay, we're going to do a piece of strategic work, which is, thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, and it's going to take 2, 3, 4 months to do from go to woe. I think sometimes people are a bit concerned about putting that level of investment in, and it's a significant amount of money over a significant amount of time. So we've got 2 finite resources which are being used. But then if you look at it the other way, you're probably going to be spending that on your tactical execution anyway over that time. So even from that point of view, if you just stop the activity that you're doing at the moment and reinvest that money into some thinking and planning, you're going to get so much better result afterwards, and much better opportunity of success. The other thing I would say, the other red flag or error is, I suppose, looking, rather than aligning, your marketing business plan should be mirrors of each other. They should talk to each other. And an idea that a marketing plan will just deliver all the business goals, which of course is not true. They need to work in unison with each other, and they need to inform each other as well. So, thinking of an example, if you want to, if your business plan is to expand from Victoria into the states across Australia, to take a product or a service business there, you really need to make sure that you understand where the biggest opportunity is. So is it in New South Wales or South Australia that's the biggest opportunity? Is it the ACT? Is it Tasmania? So just by doing that business planning, that then means you're going to set up the right infrastructure and the right ability to actually execute your service or deliver your product. Then once you've done that, bolting on a marketing strategy to the side that says, right, okay, how are we going to ensure that we promote the fact there's distribution? How are we going to support the sell-through of that product or service in that, whatever that point of distribution is? So that's, not tying those two things together, I think, is a relatively, common mistake, or it's just not given enough thought. It's just like, I'll get some marketing done and my business will be fine and it'll go off like a rocket ship. Of course, if that was the case, then none of us would be sitting here. We'd all be off on the rocket ship. It's just, the competitive market's not like that. We have to stop and think and really arm ourselves with the best plan and tools that we think is going to deliver a success for the business.
Yeah. And so many people in everyday life and then into business as well, they're so seeking of the outcome. They see that there's all the shiny objects. I want that, I want that, I want that. And they just start going at it. But to achieve that quicker, in most circumstances, if you just put a little bit of planning into it, a little bit of thought, as you touched on there, build the strategy from the top and then take it down to those executional steps on a daily basis, you'll probably get there a lot quicker than you would if you just say, I want that, I'm going to chase towards it. You think about it you used the rocket ship term there before. If they're wanting to go to the moon's the outcome, it's probably going to be a lot simpler of an action to do. Okay, how do we get to the moon? Well, we've got to build a rocket. How do you build a rocket? Well, you've got to have all the engineering behind that. And you go, okay, we'll tick off all the boxes to get there. But if you just say, I'm going to go to the moon, you start walking towards it,
You're never going to get there.
you're never going to get there. So it's a good perspective. And it's one people hear all the time, people in your position in marketing say all the time, but people just don't execute it that way. And they need constant reminding to say, this is what needs to be done. You need to have the plan, you need to have the strategy, and without it, you're going to struggle.
I think that's such a nice analogy. So JFK, when he launched the moon landing program, there were three things that they had to focus on. Propulsion, so rocketry to get them there, life support, so you've got to keep your astronauts alive, and then navigation, so you need to know which way you're going. And going back to what you said, he really had a clear, the aim was to get to the moon. The three things that we need to focus on are propulsion, navigation, and life support. But like you said, underneath all that is an engineering plan. And all that technical and tactical execution. You have the best engineers in the world, but if you haven't told them they're going to the moon versus going to the bottom of the sea, you're in trouble already, aren't you?
Big time.
And I like what you said, you start walking to the moon, exactly, you're just going to go around the world, aren't you? So there's the difference between strategy and tactic, and there's a nice picture about just a little hand-drawn cartoon with a river and the mountains, and you've got to get from point A to point B on the river, and the strategy is the route you're going to take. So am I going to go over the mountains, or am I going to go down the river?
Sure.
Well, if I'm going to go down the river, I'm probably going to get in a boat, because otherwise I'm going to get wet. So the boat's the tactic, it's not the strategy. The strategy was choosing the river in the first place. So that was there might be rapids. It might be quicker, but there might be rapids. The mountains might be slower, but there are no rapids. But there are bears in the mountains. So, you've got to take in all those risks and, sort of different things that are going on to then make that decision. And nothing's plain sailing, and things go wrong. So how do you then change what you're doing to make sure that you can, still get to your goals successfully?
Yeah. That's a cool little analogy to keep in mind. River versus the mountains.
River versus the mountains.
Bears versus rapids.
Exactly. Which one would you rather go for? I'm not sure. I suppose you can always get out and swim if you fall out the rapids, but I don't know. Fast-flowing rivers are also dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Yeah.
So you've worked with several large clients, and most notably recently you had big lighters come to you for a campaign coming into Australia, and it involved Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart.
Yes.
So how did that all come around?
Yeah, that was interesting. So this is just one of those funny quirks of you do all the strategic planning and the like for our own marketing promotion, and then you get something quite random out the blue. So that actually ended up coming through a Google Ads campaign, and the lady, Sarah, who was the marketing channel manager at the time, actually emailed and said, we need some help with some graphic design. Can you help us out? So I got on the call with her and started chatting to her. She said, we've got a project coming up, and we think we might need some help with delivering the project. So whatever, not really. You just, it is what it is. That would be great. Let's see how it goes. And it ended up being rolling out the brand launch campaign for their new Easy Reach lighter product. Obviously, with the change in the way that people use lighters, used to obviously be very smoking related. Now, with the decline of smoking and just I suppose the social license, we're not going anywhere near that. And then really promoting that around, sort of home use, barbecues, camping, lighting fires, incense, candles, all those kind of things. So there's still, there was a really good opportunity to go out. And they, BIC business, which is a French business, but head office in New York, I think it is now. And they'd taken on the campaign with using Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart, who've had a cooking show together. They've done a number of endorsements. I think it's not Doritos in the US; it's another brand, but that is the same brand but different name, and some other bits and pieces. And that had its challenges as well, because also, of course, the connotation with Snoop Dogg and what's legal in many states in the US is not legal in Australia as well. Yeah. So there was that. We did have to be a little bit careful, and it was really taking a lot of the assets that had been developed out of the US under very, very tight, understandably tight contracts, and actually rolling those out in a very structured and measured way, but also making sure that we focused on, I'll go back to distribution. Without distribution on anything, you're stuffed. You need to be able to get your product or service out there. So working with the team at BIC to aid the sell-in, and this again comes back to the alignment of sales effort and promotional and marketing effort, and making sure the sales team were given the best opportunity to present the product to, so we did a big door opener box with a biodegradable barbecue, a local Melbourne-made candle, and some local Queensland-made incense. I think that was it that was in it, and then the lighter. We put these package boxes together, and nice quality, really nice quality stuff, to send those out to the buyers, and that was all BIC Easy Reach branded, to really sort of just get them excited about what the product was, where it was relevant. And then once we'd done that, we had a trade show with Metcash that we supported. And we did like a spin to win a Martha's massage, I think it was, and they had some massage people turn up for the day. So, but again, it's, all these things, by the time we were on wraps on trams and done a takeover in Southern Cross Station, like that was the real tail end of all the effort to actually get there. A lot of what we'd done was previous work with the channel, essentially getting the channels ready to accept the distribution into the major supermarkets. Metcash, Woolies were the two big supporters, and really then pushing out the brand message using Snoop and Martha along that different along that chain, and then deciding which media we were going to use to be as effective as possible, as getting as many eyeballs as we possibly could on the creative and the ad creative.
Yeah. Legislative barriers, do you come across those a lot in your work? Because that's a big barrier there with what is legal in America is not legal here. Yeah. You want to stay clear of smoking, but you've got Snoop Dogg as an endorsement for this brand.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, and I think thankfully Snoop Dogg does stand for a bit more than anyway what he's also associated with. He's had a very successful music career. So, and actually a lot of the connotations of where Snoop and Martha work well are very US centric. So there's actually not much. You're kind of using them in a purer sense for their faces rather than what they mean to more of an American audience. So if you've ever just jumped on YouTube and had a look at their cooking show, you'll sort of understand what I mean. It's much more about who they are as people in America, whereas I think here it's more about just who they are as global icons, really, which is a bit different. Probably the biggest areas or watch points for us on legislation is actually around financial planning and that kind of area, and any medical things. So making sure, and we're not financial planning experts, we're not medical experts by any stretch of the imagination. So producing content and advising on promoting for those kind of industries, you just got to be really careful that you don't stray into financial advice and saying things to people that you can't say, or shouldn't be saying because it's either morally or legally incorrect. And the same with anything medical as well. You can't, and quite understandably, say this person's had this result, so you will as well.
Yeah, it's not possible.
It's not true.
Yeah.
Or it might be, but it's not guaranteed. So, you just got to be really careful of that, and quite rightly as well. The rules and regulations are there for a reason, so people aren't taken advantage of, essentially. So I think that's about integrity and brand, integrity in what you're doing. And if you say you're doing something, do it. Yeah. And if you don't do something, don't say you do it. Otherwise, there's just so much risk involved with that, and people always get found out. Always get found out.
Yeah. What's been your favourite campaign that you've worked on in your career? And more specifically with Pier in the last 10 years?
Yeah, wow. Favourite campaign? The big stuff was really good. I mean, that's just a lovely brand. I mean, it's a lovely brand to work on, and the content that you've got and the creative you got with Snoop and Martha was great. Bic were amazing to work with as well. So just so easy to, just work with and actually get what we needed. We do a bit of work with Vicinity as well. We've got something in market across Victoria and Tasmania. They're just brilliant to work with as well. And a lot of that comes down to relationships. So that's obviously two big organisations. But then we've got clients that we've worked with locally in Frankston. And we've worked allied health business called the Sports Injury Clinic, who we worked with for 10 years, basically since we started.
Wow.
And Pippa, the CEO there, is just, she's brilliant to work with. She's supportive. And it's the people that you work with on these campaigns, because we've done a campaign called Life is a Playing Field with them, which is all about an issue that they had where the Sports Injury Clinic as a name is great, but it's not most of what they do. Most of what they do is not sports injury physiotherapy. It'll be everyday injuries that we cause ourselves. So we didn't want to, the name's got 20 years worth of brand equity and recognition within the local area. So how do we then make sport relevant for people on a day-to-day basis? So that's where Life is a Playing Field came from. And it would be, and if you have a look at either around the Sports Injury Clinic, but then online as well, about a mum with the two boys going down the slide at the bobsleigh team, or dog on the beach being thrown a ball by the owner of the javelin, the guy running for the bus, the sprinter. So it's all these kind of ideas of just trying to be imaginative and being allowed to do it as well, because there are plenty of clients that they're too, I don't know, risk averse, but then it's building trust. So again, it's about building the relationship, building the trust, and they becoming really interesting. And whether it's it's $1,000 a month or $100,000 a month budget, it's the connection with the people you're working with that makes it interesting.
Yeah, and it's always like that. The ones that you have the best relationship with are the best clients. You relate to them, you get along with them, you can talk to them about things outside of just a professional capacity. When you can do that, it's easy.
It makes it, it is. And you must have clients like that as well, definitely, that you can just have a conversation with. Yeah,
we were at a shoot earlier this week, and with A Sporty Corporate, chatting with the GM there, Craig, and we're just talking about things not even related to what we're working on. And we went with them to Port Douglas last year for their national conference. So you get to have that insider knowledge, if you want, of what they're like at a party or at drinks. So you see different perspectives of it, and it just deepens that relationship. When you're with someone for 5 days straight in Port Douglas, you get to know someone pretty well, and then you bring it back to your everyday relationship down in Melbourne, it just enhances it.
It does, and I think, absolutely what you're saying is building those relationships. And if you have those good quality, deeper relationships, it's not about being everybody's best friend, but it's about being able to relate to people. I suppose building your village as well, and work's huge. I mean, we do 8 hours a day minimum at work. It's a massive part of our lives. Then we should enjoy it and enjoy the people that we work with, enjoy the type of work that we do. And you always come across some people who you just don't gel with. And for whatever reason, it doesn't, and that's fine. I think it's okay. Yeah, it's really okay to walk away from and just say it's not serving either of us. If you're not enjoying working with us, if we're not enjoying working with you, why are we bothering?
Yeah.
Just walk away.
And show the mutual respect to each other and say this is not working.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And I think, there's obviously there's often contractual stuff around that or whatever, but just to be able to come to a sensible adult agreement and just say, you know what, it's fine. We'll do something else.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
What makes it worthwhile for you to work in the way you do with the people that you do? What is it that gets you out of bed in the morning, essentially, to achieve those goals that your clients have?
Yeah, I think always trying to do better. And I think when I'm enjoying and most engaged at work is when we've got a clear program of trying to do things better, trying to improve what we're doing, and trying to look for different ways of doing things. And you must see it in your own business as well. There's always for you, you've got both technology as well as technique, which I suppose we do as well, just less overtly, where everything from the way that we run the business to the things that we're doing for our clients and the extra thinking and analysis and review and challenge that we put on ourselves is really important. And that's what's interesting. I think setting up some Google ads is not particularly interesting. It's a mechanical thing that you just do. But if you've done all the thinking beforehand and you're really confident that that's the right thing for this client and that we're going to get a good result from it, that's interesting. And then seeing if it does. Because sometimes you think and it doesn't, and then you've got to change it. And I suppose having the confidence and the belief in the process, which is execute, measure, and then refine, and keep on going on that wheel. So it should never stop. It shouldn't be set and forget. And if you set and forget, things just start. They just go backwards. They just do. Yeah. You need to really focus on that.
At Pier, you've got a 5-step marketing strategy process. I'll read it through, and I'd love for you to just speak a little bit to each of those. So first, you've got the discovery session. From there, audit and analysis, set the strategy, agree on tactics, and then finally the implementation. Mm-hmm. So if you've got a new client approach you and you're working through each of those steps, what are some of the questions that you're asking them? What are some of the key details that you're looking for? Yeah. And then how you flow between each of those. Yeah.
And I think this actually comes back to a lot of work that I've been doing on the business over the last 12 to 18 months, which is really trying to systemize and productize what we do. And it's not to say that every output is identical, because it's not, and it can't be, but exactly the same way as with your equipment, you have to know how to use that piece of equipment. And there's a system which you're using, and there's a process which you go through to make sure that you're going to get a really good outcome. And I think sometimes, especially in professional services, it's something that's taken me a long time just to get my head round. And I think part of the problem is, and I will get to the 5 points, is that if I'm as the business owner going out and selling stuff, that's quite dangerous, because I can make any decision I want, but that doesn't mean it's the right decision for the business, and it also makes it very unscalable and unduplicable. So to make sure that throughout our business we have really good, robust process that we go through, and that's where the 5-step process comes from. And that when we sit in front of a new customer, whether it's for 2 hours or 4 hours, and we've done sessions which we wouldn't do 6 hours straight, but 2-3 hour discovery sessions, depending on the depth of information we need and how many stakeholders are involved. once we get into there, a lot of it's pretty basic stuff, but it's getting alignment. And one of the biggest things that we're trying to do with our marketing strategy is get alignment across the business of what people are expecting and the direction that we're going in. So we might use models like an empathy map, which is really to try and understand what is the target market thinking and feeling. And if we can understand that, we can start to put solutions around what they might be receptive to. So, for instance, if we get to a persona who are concerned they don't have the time they need to keep compliant in, I don't know, financial services, go back to that, then, and there's a business that's offering training for financial compliance and financial planners, then how do we deliver that in a way that addresses the fact that these people are so time poor that they're up at 9, 10 o'clock at night doing this stuff just to keep their licenses up? So it's really understanding what is going on in that person's world and really drilling down to that persona development. Equally, personas, I think, can be a little bit misleading sometimes within businesses, because there's also an idea of customer mission, which is that it doesn't matter whether you're a 25-year-old guy, a 35-year-old lady, a 65-year-old retiree, a high-flying executive for Coles. When you go into the supermarket, you're going to go and buy that milk. That's what your mission is. So your persona is completely irrelevant. So it's really making sure we get that balance of understanding who we're talking to, but what also are they trying to achieve? And that can actually be the common thread, is what people are trying to achieve. Where you then can use personas is to talk in different ways to the people that are trying to achieve the same thing. You talk to them in different ways. And that's around empathy. And, you know, a 25-year-old might be worried about the cost of 2 litres of milk. The high-flying executive might just be worried about how quickly he's going to be able to go and get, or she's going to be able to get, the 2 litres of milk. So they're both trying to do the same thing, but they've got different pressures on their in their world. Sure. So a lot of the why, what, how, whens as well. We might go through a SWOT analysis is really good as well. Some clients will go through the Boston Consulting Group BCG matrix. So that's the stars, cows, cash cows, dogs, and question marks on products and services. So understanding how they work together. And there's a number of others. I'm struggling to think of the top of my head now, but just different, very structured models that we use to draw out that information, which then get fed into the marketing strategy. 7 Ps of marketing as well. So product, price, place, promotion, process, people, and physical evidence, and going through each one of those. And often, to be honest, it's never the promotion. So people often conflate marketing and advertising or promotion, the same thing. Advertising and promotion is a subset of the marketing mix. If there are 7 broad areas of the marketing mix, there's the 8th P, which is the purple cow, if you read Seth Godin's book, which is about making something unique. And if your product's not right, if you don't have a good product market fit, and you don't have good distribution, you're stuffed. Yeah. So you're better off having a decent product with excellent distribution rather than excellent product with decent distribution. Sure. Is that distribution is so important and often underappreciated, and product as well. Is your product good in what the market are looking for? Because if the market isn't looking for it, you then got to develop a new market, which is fine, but that takes a lot of time and a lot of money. Yeah. So it's really making sure. And then how crowded is the market? So there's just so much to all this stuff that it's really, really important to get a good hold of it. Because otherwise, how we get back at the start, otherwise you just put some social media posts up and then wonder why you're spending $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month on a social media agency and wondering why it's not working.
Yeah, exactly right.
Save you money.
Yeah. And is that lack of distribution and lack of a good product and product market fit some of the holes that you see in a lot of companies when they come to you?
I wouldn't say a lot of companies. I just think it's something we need to be aware of.
Sure.
That's so important, because if we don't get that right, the other 6Ps are irrelevant. If your product's rubbish, it doesn't matter how much it costs. I don't want it for $1 if it's going to clog up my my cupboards.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to buy it for $100 because it's not worth it. And then, once you get into pricing, thinking about value rather than the price is what you pay, value is what you get. So there's something can be expensive if it's $10, or it can be cheap if it's $10. It depends. Would you buy a lolly for $10? Probably not. Would you buy a sandwich and a coffee and a bag of chips for lunch for $10? Probably. One offers poor value, one offers good value. So that value proposition is really important on whatever it is. So once we've been through those quite detailed discussions with key members within the business, and if there's a sales team, we will always encourage that salesperson to be involved in the discussion. Because again, if you don't have sales buying your stuff again, because it's your key distribution method. Then moving to auditing. So audits are both internal, external. It can involve research as well, and it can involve whether it be quantitative research, qualitative research. So either yes, nos, 1 to 10s on an online survey versus focus groups, telephone calls, in the street kind of research, and also desktop. So what are your competitors doing? What are you doing? What is the stuff that you're doing at the moment, and what effect and what results is it getting? And everything from sales collateral, marketing collateral. Why have you got it? What's it doing? Does it actually fit part of the sales process, or doesn't it?
Sure.
So getting into that detail of what's there already is really important. Once we've done that, then be able to actually write out a strategy, which is a comprehensive document. It's a really big document, and the idea of that is it's a source of truth that should last within the business for maybe 3, 4, 5 years. So although the investment might be high singles, low tens of thousands of dollars work, that should be something that lasts you for 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So if you look at it on a month-to-month basis, it's actually pretty affordable and reasonable cost. Once you've done that, that's when your plans fall out of the bottom of that. So if you get a 40-page, 50-page document, whatever it is, the last 2 pages have got the actions in them. And those are the things you can actually get on with and do, but without all the thinking and then the bringing together of that information into a 30 or 40, 50-page document, you're never going to get to those actions because you're just guessing at them. And like I was speaking to today about home loans, mortgage broker, basically, he wants to deal with high net worth clients. You go onto his website and he does everything. Home loans, car loans, commercial loans, business loans, chattel mortgages. He doesn't want to be doing any of that. He wants to be doing high net worth individuals and families, couples. He wants to do their home loans, and he wants to support them with their financial advisor and their accountant to build wealth. His website just doesn't say that. So again, because there was no strategic thinking, which he's acknowledged, and he just got and said, build me a website, he hasn't ended up in the right place. So the action was the same, build website, but because there was no thinking before, or not, it was a quick brief and
not a detailed approach.
Not a detailed approach. He's ended up with the wrong website, fundamentally, for what he wants to do as a business.
Sure.
So, maybe rebranding and selling that onto a general, mortgage broker and loans broker would be a good thing to do, and he can start again. But anyway, those are the kind of things that happen. And then implementing. So once you get to the plan, you might have things that just need to be done quite quickly, things that need to be done in the future, and then things that are on that sort of slow burn, like building brand awareness, getting content out there, doing your social media schedules, and then once you've implemented them, you need to measure them. So how are things going? How many people are interacting with my social media? How many people are opening my emails? How many people if you're a transactional business, how many people are buying? What's my conversion rates? And really getting to grips with what all those are. So we've got a client that we work with that sells doors, internal doors, front doors, a lot of custom stuff, bit of off the shelf. And he's getting hundreds of inquiries to his website, but then we've got to understand which ones are converting. And once we understood which ones are converting, where did those conversions come from? Did they come from organic traffic, where people have been searching images or whatever it may be, or has it come from a Google Ads campaign? If it's come from a Google Ads campaign, which ad did it come from? Yeah. Which keyword fired that ad? Because then you can understand that, and then which ended up with a good value of contract, which ends up with a poor value of contract, and really getting a deep understanding of how people are interacting with that business, and then being able to make changes back up the line based on the outcome. And that's where it becomes so important that we understand sales figures. And I know that in a lot of instances, people can be a bit wary about giving away sales information, margins, all that kind of thing. But without that information, we can't advise of what you should be spending. Yeah. And you might be spending $1,000, $10,000 a month on Google Ads. If that's returning 3 to 1, 4 to 1, 5 to 1, 11 to 1, you should be doing more, not less. Yeah. And that's something that's really important. You don't get that unless you've been all through the process, and that's why I think the danger is put me up some Google Ads, okay, rather than saying why, and getting a system generated PDF report that says just gives you the metrics is kind of irrelevant. It doesn't do anything. It just
touches on the surface level. This is what is happening, but you don't know why it's happening.
Don't know why. Don't know what to change. Don't know what you should be scratching into and going into more detail about. And you don't know. Yeah, you just don't know. Those reports are an absolute pet hate of mine. It's they're useless. They're completely useless. No analysis on them.
So speaking about your client, they've done their website up. They haven't put it in the right direction because they haven't had any strategy. They're not attracting those high-level clients that they're looking for.
Yeah, that's right.
So one of the services you offer at Pier is web design. Yeah. This is incorporating everything from the development of the initial site map through to SEO, ongoing maintenance, and training as well. Yeah. So obviously that's a very vast area. SEO and design is very vast. If you were to give, say, 3 to 5 best practices for businesses to implement, what would you say those are in that area of SEO and web design? Yeah.
Well, take a bit of a step back first, if that's okay. Just ever so slightly change the context of the question. So over the time we've been through, basically, we're a very different business now to what we were 10 years ago, and working with different clients and some of the same clients. But also, one of the things that we have tried to do throughout our time is add more and more services to what we offer. And we got to a point a couple of years ago where we, nearly 6 years ago, 6 years ago, where we actually started Pier Creative and Web, which was the web and design arm. We made, I think, in hindsight, the mistake of integrating Pier Creative and Web into Pier Marketing and just dumped the Creative and Web or put on ice the Creative and Web brand. So it was a really big mistake. And so what you've spoken about now actually crosses 2 different business units. So what we've made the decision to do is Pier Marketing Group is the holding company. It is the entity, but within that, split into Pier Marketing, Pier Creative and Web, and Pier Digital. And the reason for that is within those individual sort of business units, if you like, or working groups within Pier Marketing Group, is it allows us to be much more focused on what we're selling and to who. So sell one thing to one person. I don't mean literally one person, but one avatar. Exactly, one avatar, one persona, one customer group, whatever you might want to call it. And that's much more it's a much more simple thing to sell, and it's a much easier thing for people to buy as well. So rather than trying to sell lots of different things to lots of different people, I think it actually becomes quite difficult for people to buy from you, because they don't really know. You don't really know what you're trying to sell to them. They don't really know what they're trying to buy. So what we did last year was actually split Pier Creative and Web back out of Pier Marketing. And actually now we've split Pier Digital out of Pier Marketing as well.
Right, so now you've got 3 different areas.
3 different areas that offer 3 different service offerings. Quite distinct, actually. And they actually service quite different people and different reasons to coming to us. So Pier Creative and Web, very much a project-based approach, because people come and say, I'd like a website. We do the website. There are some ongoing opportunities, but broadly, people can come to us for one thing, and then they might never wish to do anything else with us because for whatever reason. So within that, we have done a lot of work over the number of years of making sure that we are offering websites that are really good quality, basically, and really making sure that we're ticking all the technical boxes as well as the design boxes as well. So for us, it's really important that we advise our customers and our potential customers on what's right for them, what level they should be going to, and again, what's the website trying to do. So I don't know if there are 3 or 4 pointers. So SEO is definitely one of them. You've got different facets to SEO. You've got technical SEO on the website. Page loading is massive. Making sure that you've lodged your sitemap with Google Search Console is massively important, because otherwise Google doesn't know you exist if you haven't done that. Right. Allow the pages to be crawled and ask Google to crawl the pages. Keywords are really important, but they need to be written, one, as if human is reading them, so the keyword stuffing is no good, but also making sure that the keywords you're going for are actually the keywords that are relevant to what you're trying to achieve. Anyone can send traffic to a website, but it needs to be good traffic. And if you're getting leads through the website, especially so if you're in a transactional business like, I don't know, window washing, car washing, gardening services, that kind of thing, you should expect leads to come through the website, because people are looking for a service of which they are going to. It's not about a relationship, it's about transacting. Yeah. I'm going to give you some money, you're going to deliver something for me, and then we might do that on a regular basis, but it's quite a transactional need-based thing, as opposed to more relationship-based things like, I suppose, like a lot of professional services. You're using a website more to be, my view is more to be a proof of social proof, a proof of existence. So you're not necessarily people asking to go on and say, help me with my marketing, although they do. You're looking for people to use that as a resource to say, can I work with this person, these people? Do I trust them? Is what they're doing in line with what I'm looking to do? And then, of course, they might get in touch. But there's a big difference between having a website as a lead generation machine or an e-commerce machine, of course, where you're looking for people to actually transact on that platform, versus get in touch with you for a quote and those kind of things. So, okay, it comes back to, what are you actually trying to get it to do? And then where do you get your leads from? Is it word of mouth? Is it networking? Is it online? Is it Google search? Is it Google organic? Is it Google My Business? Is it email campaigns? Is it meta advertising? Is it organic social media? Is it a billboard? Unlikely, but all those things, and understanding where your website sits in that sort of ecosystem. And every so often a new platform comes out, a new technology comes out, and I think we sometimes get a bit excited and think that that's going to do away with websites. I don't think that's true. I think the website is the single source of truth, but it's relatively static. And what I mean by that is that the messaging doesn't change, unlike a social feed where we put whatever you want up, but you know what I mean. So you're putting lots of new content up on. Making sure the website is designed with good user experience or UX in mind, with good user interface, UI design, and making sure we are getting those, just getting the SEO basics, getting the meta tags on, getting the URLs correct, getting the H1, H2, H3 headers on the site correct, because Google looks at them, allowing schema markup. So that's where Google will trawl the page, and then if there is questions and answers in that page, depending on people's search queries, it might pick your question and answer and deliver it up into the snippets, the Google snippets.
Right.
So that's a lot of technical stuff that needs to be done. SEO is very objective, data-driven subject when you come to keywords and on-page and website setup. Once you get to off-page, essentially the good quality off-page SEO is PR, where you're trying to get articles on other websites, fundamentally trying to get backlinks. That can be done in a variety of ways, a number of ways that we just don't entertain. We'd always steer well away from virtual blog networks and link farming. So you'll get agencies who own a number of high-ranking domain sites for whatever they are. They'll post blogs on there or articles and point them back to your website. Ultimately, the danger is Google finds out and then will derate your site because you should be disavowing those links as junk. So it's about quality, really, making sure it's good quality.
It's interesting you touched on their websites. You've got e-commerce, you've got more of a transactional approach, your gardeners and what forth, and you've got professional services where it's a bit of a portfolio, a bit of a social proof. Very, very different in terms of their goals as well. Yeah. And it's funny, when I was speaking with Peter, you guys, branding, originally everyone's like, oh, get a website done, get a logo done. I was like, why are you getting it done? What's the purpose behind it? What are you trying to tell people, your potential customers? And it has to go back to the website as well. What are you actually trying to get out of it? You can't just approach Pier and say, hey, can you do a website for us? Okay, but why? There's very few businesses today which you could say probably don't need to have a website, and there's very, very few that wouldn't need one. But you're probably better off having no website if he's going to have something stupid up there. It's not going to benefit the business.
It's not going to serve you, and there are so many different ways of doing it. So you can you'll go to agencies, and they'll have a starting price of 50 grand, 100 grand, which will be very relevant for some businesses and a lot of it's risk management, So they'll have multiple developers, they'll have multiple designers, they'll be able to execute very complex sites over a reasonable amount of time. I mean, that's not us. We don't have that. That's not our setup at all. Equally, it might be very relevant to jump onto Upwork and get someone to do a $500 Squarespace site for you, or $1,000, whatever. Yeah. Completely sensible for many businesses. Equally, somewhere in between 1,000, 100,000, 1 million, whatever it might be. Because it's just about understanding what it is, like you said, what it is you need to do and what level you need to go to. There's pointless spending. Like, I've heard stories locally of hairdressers being sold sites at $15,000 to $20,000, and for me, I just think that is it's questionable advice.
Oh yeah,
and we've had it. We've had small accounting firm come to us, and this was on us. We came back and we said we quoted them an $18,000 website. And this was, I don't touch everything, so, and we was talking about it, and I was following up what's going on here, and the quote had gone out, and the guy was a bit like, how much? And for some accountancies, $18,000 is fine. It's not enough. But for this one, it's like, I'm really not comfortable recommending this level of investment for the business that they are. So we actually went back and we cut it a different way, and we essentially developed in a different way using a different process and got a lot of cost out of it. But it's really making sure that whatever you're recommending to a client, so if you've got a site with advanced, like lots of filtering on because there's a lot of content, that takes a lot of time, and that's where the costs start to escalate. If you've got a lot of content on there, again, costs start to escalate and start to build up. And it's really understanding what is it that you need and what do we need to do to make sure that all the bases are covered. and what are you trying to do in terms of, what's your business trying to do? Shopify is an amazing platform for e-com, especially anything simple to not hyper complex, but you can do some reasonably complex stuff on Shopify. It's a great platform. We develop a lot on Webflow, which is kind of like Squarespace on steroids. WordPress is brilliant, but it needs updating regularly, and you have to be on an update and on a maintenance plan for it, because otherwise the whole thing will just start to break, and there's no other way that you can't. It just does. You get updates, you'll have critical updates, you get server-side and hosting-side updates as well, you get SQL updates, all this stuff, which is well out of my sphere of knowledge and expertise, can all break. So we had a SQL update on a number of WordPress sites that we host and we've built in the past, and it broke all the Google Maps because the database update was incompatible with the current Google API integration. So we had to go through, and it's fine, just go through and you have to fix them all. But those are the things that happen. If you're on a platform like Webflow, Shopify, Squarespace, Wix, all of that is taken care of for you. And then you get into more complex things called headless, where you're using a content management system to manage it, but not to deliver the content. So it's often a security item. And then there are lots of much more complex and more powerful content management systems. Sitecore, Craft is probably in that kind of Webflow area, where you choose them for different reasons, basically. And it's WordPress now I would steer clear of. It's good. It's good for complex sites because you can do anything.
Sure.
But you have to maintain it. Otherwise, it will just fall. And as soon as you put all the plugins in, as soon as you start putting custom code in, something will break. It just will. There's no other way of getting around it, and it just needs to be, it needs to be managed.
I have to come see you soon. I've got WordPress, and everything you just touched on there, I've got absolutely no idea about.
Yeah.
I know how to update it, do the blog posts and all the basic stuff. That's all fine. But in terms of the updates, normally I'll just update. That's
and
fine.
Most of the time they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Most of the time they'll be fine, and then it'll break.
There'll be an occasion.
Yeah, and then you won't know what to do, and it's like, I can't. Yeah, I didn't back it up, so I can't roll back now. So if you're not doing a backup and then updating, then just that simple step
could cause big problems.
Yeah, and then you have to go and obviously go and triage what's happened. But that's a web developer then.
Yeah.
And if it's critical, so a site like yours is not critical, so you're not trading on it. But if you've got a site that you trade on, and it's down, then you're not making any money. So it has to go back up.
Yeah.
So then you're on, short lead time, emergency, jump onto this quick, which is always going to cost you more because you've got to pull people off other projects and rush through the fixes. So anyway, it's just one of those things. Yeah.
Question in regards to blog posts for you. So should they all be crafted around the service being offered for the business, or should we be looking at more broader topics? So my example for you there would be, if a hotel was writing a blog post, should they be talking about the best hotels in their area as a way to draw traffic to their site? Or should they be looking at things more like the best things to do in Mornington, best things to do in Melbourne? What would your approach be?
I think the latter of the two. The best hotels, and this is a really interesting thing about SEO and keywords, right? If you think about a searcher's intent, if you go into the best hotels in Melbourne, you're looking for independent recommendations of what the best hotels are. If you then put an article on your own hotel's website about the best hotels in Melbourne, you're probably going to only put your own hotel on there. So what is interesting about that is that although the traffic isn't necessarily irrelevant by any means, there's not necessarily integrity in the intent of trying to attract that traffic. Doing something like the top 100 things to do in Melbourne, Mornington, whatever it might be, is great, because if you're offering that information, there's a reason, there's integrity in that opinion. Yeah. So, I think that's absolutely a sensible thing to do is offering those wider topics. What to look for when choosing a hotel might be a better blog, a better article. How much traffic that's going to get, I don't know. Whenever you're looking at blog posts and actually search engine marketing and search engine optimization, we're chasing keywords and key phrases. There's some, again, it's very metrics driven. So you've got the volume that's being searched for. And then you've got a thing called keyword difficulty as well, which is a score between 0 to 100. And things like the best hotels in Melbourne will have a high search volume and a very high keyword difficulty. Right. So, yes, there's lots of volume to go for, but your likelihood about being able to rank for that is quite low, because things like what if or booking or whoever it might be will be dominating those search terms. Sure. And then Qantas Holidays will be paying for that search term if they're not organically rating for it. But then, of course, having in your in there, one of the best hotels in Melbourne or best hotel in Melbourne or whatever it might be, I mean, that's perfectly valid as well. So you just chase them in different ways, and you might find a slight change to the keyword or the key phrase actually delivers you a much more achievable keyword opportunity.
Right. And how does the relationship work with blog posts and then Google My Business? So that's very important, holding a good Google My Business page.
Yes.
One of the activities I do with that is if I do a blog post, I'll just do an update post on Google, and I say, I'll summarize the article and then learn more, click on the link, whatever it is.
Exactly.
Is that the best approach?
Perfect.
Awesome.
Perfect.
That gives me a bit of relief.
Yeah, so Google cycles through the post every 6 days, I think it is. So they drop off after a few days. So Google My Business is very important, both for social proof, so your star ratings. Google is very local focused as well. So the more local your business is, the more important your Google ratings are. If you're a national business, it doesn't have the same impact on search because of your geo-targeting. So if you search for a cafe on Mornington Main Street, you don't want a cafe up in Bomb Beach appearing or whatever. Yeah. So the way that Google will then determine who to show is who's doing the best job on the Google My Business profile. Number of reviews, amount of activity, because Google is looking for new, fresh content all the time. Reviews fit really nicely into Google's reason for existing, which is about giving access to information and good quality information. So if you've got lots of 4 or 5 star reviews on your Google review, then Google will prefer that listing over something that's got less reviews than that.
Right. And in terms of keeping the activity fresh, is that like a blog post every couple of weeks, every week, twice a week? What's your preferred ratio?
Oh, I don't have a preferred ratio. Whatever you can. I mean, time, effort, return, isn't it? So what you can manage.
Fantastic, Alex.
Yeah, what you can manage.
As we finish up today, I've got 2 questions for you.
Right, so there we go.
A little bit more personal based, but you can answer it in a career focus as well, if you like. So the first question is, what is the biggest lesson that you've learned over your career as a marketer? And then the second question, what one tip would you give to someone who's completely fresh to marketing, very, very new, for them to improve just by 1% today?
Biggest lessons in marketing. I remember it would have been my first corporate job, I think, and I was talking to one of the ladies in the team there, and I was basically saying I'm not sure that marketing's ever going to lead me anywhere, and I'm not sure there's a career in it, and I don't know what, just lack of knowledge, understanding, 21, 22, something like that anyway. And she was saying, oh, you don't think like that, all these CEOs are ex-marketers, you can do whatever you want with it. So I think that even just those basic eye-opening kind of moments that just go, yeah, there's more to this, there's a lot to be done here, has been really good. And just, it's an easy thing to say, but learning, and I think always just acknowledging we don't know that much, none of us know that much, and just being very comfortable with that is really important. And I think, I don't know whether I'm answering these questions kind of together, but the interplay of marketing with business is vital. So finance and marketing, I think, should be best friends, and especially often in more corporate, larger businesses, marketing, finance seem to fight together.
Yes.
But if in marketing, if you're not returning, you shouldn't be doing it. Like it's for me, it's that simple. And I would always say I'd rather an extra salesperson than an extra advertising budget, depending on the business, of course. So when we think about marketing, marketing is not advertising. Marketing is the act of taking your product or service to market, and all the different ways you can do that. Salespeople, good salespeople are a very, very good marketing resource. And I don't mean the marketing team's resource. I mean a resource to market your business. And I think really getting comfortable with that, the best conversations we have is when there's the marketing team there, the sales team there, the business leader, CEO, MD, owner, whatever it is, and the finance person. So you can actually have that discussion about, well, marketing should not be a cost center. It should be an investment line that is returning. And if it's not returning, you stop investing in it and you do something else. And when I say marketing, even that's a ridiculous thing to say. You have to market your business. If you're a cafe on Main Street in Mornington, or on Collins Street in Melbourne, or Pitt Street in Sydney, you're paying rent. You're paying rent for a shop front. On that shop front is your cafe name. That is the way that you market your business. So that the dollars and cents that you're paying per square meter is you marketing your business. So I think really understanding what marketing actually is really, really important. And then you think about how you, the tactics that you use to do that.
Alex, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you, Didier.
The biggest learning from today, and we spoke about how it needs to be reinforced all the time, but it's so critical, is just know why you're doing what you're doing. And in marketing, it's so important. Otherwise, you're not going to get to the moon at all. You'll end up walking to China.
Yeah.
So choose your options, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. If you head south, I think you get to Tassie first. So yeah, Tassie or China, those are your two options.
Alex, thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Didier.